Today I'm going to be filming my own version of Pennywise the Clown from the movie It. I thought that I'd do something that was a little bit more gory and a little bit more special effects just because I love blood and gore and I wanted to put my own spin on it. If you want to see how I achieved this, then keep on watching. So the first thing I'm going to do is start by gluing down my eyebrows, and because my eyebrows are so large and in charge and thick, I'm going to be using spirit gum instead of a glue stick, because in the past when I've used a glue stick it just hasn't worked. So I'm going to start by taking a spoolie and getting some spirit gum onto the spoolie, and I'm just going to run it through my brows and then press it in against my skin. When I'm brushing it up, the spirit gum's kind of getting on my skin a little bit. I'm just going to take a makeup wipe and wipe around my brows every time. So with spirit gum, to be able to like get it to stick, you've got to wait for it to go tacky. So after it's gone a bit tacky, that's when I'm going to start pressing it into my forehead to try and get them to lay really flat. So I'm just going to take a palette knife. It's probably better to use a paddle pop stick so that you don't get the spirit gum all over your palette knife, but that's all I have to work with today. You can see that my brows are starting to stick to my skin and kind of feather up a bit. I'm rolling the spoolie through them to try and press them really flat. The next thing I'm going to do is take some scar wax or any kind of SFX wax that I use or have. If you don't have as thick eyebrows as me, you don't need to do this step. You can just look up a tutorial on how to glue your eyebrows down, because it's like so much easier when they aren't this thick. But I'm just going to get a little bit of the wax on my finger, push it through my brows. And what this is doing, it's kind of creating like filling in a little bit of my brows so there's not so much texture. And I'm really pressing it in there. I always find with makeup and special effects that a lot of the time if you can use your hands are the best tools. My fingers are warming up the wax at the same time, so it's making it apply easier. So after all the wax is pushed in and you've got it as flat as you can, what I'm going to do, usually if you had a sealer you could apply the sealer, I'd probably do that, but I don't have one on hand at the moment, so I'm just going to grab a piece of sponge and some translucent powder, and I'm going to press that into my eyebrows. And the trick is to really press it in. So now that they're all powdered and you press the powder in, the next step that I'm gonna do is chuck some latex over them. If you look at a photo of Pennywise, he's kind of got his eyebrow bone like a little bit out and his eyebrows are actually like carved in. Make sure that you're in a well-ventilated area, because if you like worked with liquid latex before, I'm sure you know that it smells so bad.
Oh, raucous.
No. I like to use car sponge, so if you just go to like Kmart cheap shop and you get the yellow car sponge, it looks like this, and you just rip it up. It's really good for creating textures on this skin. I'm just going to take a bit of the car sponge, dip it in liquid latex, and I'm just going to stipple it over my brows. When you're stippling it, the edges are the thinnest parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in with a clean bit of sponge and just kind of stipple over that part just to make sure that there's no harsh edges and it just blends into the skin. You can probably repeat this about maybe 2 or 3 times, just depending on your brow and how you want it to go. But make sure that in between layers you're pressing in with the sponge again and setting it with the translucent powder. And to speed up the drying process, you can use a hairdryer and just use that to blow. And just like before, grabbing some translucent powder again and pressing that into the brow, just like we did with the wax. What I do is I press and roll, just so it kind of like flattens the hair up against the skull. Just gonna take a fluffy brush and just dust off the excess. And I'm gonna go in with another layer of latex. Also, I don't recommend doing this if you are allergic to latex. And just dusting off the excess. You'd probably go with another layer if you really wanted to, if like you're just blocking out your brows and you weren't going to put anything over the top of it. But I'm going to put some more wax over the top so that I can carve in a little bit of the eyebrow like he has. Just take some more wax, palette knife, and just smear it over the brows. Another thing to smooth out wax that's really helpful is Vaseline. So you can use that and it just smooths it out. But because it's so warm at the moment, my fingers are just doing the trick fine. So what I'm starting to do now is just using my palette knife and smoothing over my brow. Just trying to get off some excess, blending it up onto my skin. Pennywise does have some texture, he's a bit gross. So after that's all done, the next step that I'm gonna do is mix up some A and B, which is 3rd degree, and it's like a silicone sort of product, and you can use it to like create wounds, scratches, burns, whatever you really want for it. But what I'm gonna do is instead of Pennywise's painted on red lines, I'm going to carve them in and make them like he's been attacked and someone scratched and etched that into his skin with the 3rd degree. Sometimes it can set really quickly. What I'm going to do is just mix up tiny bits at a time, put it on, blend it out, then mix up some more and keep going. But when I'm doing it, I'm going to mix in a tiny little bit of white cream paint or face paint, whatever you're using to create your white base, just so that when it does blend, it's not just like clear. So I'm just mixing together like the tiniest little bit, like that's pretty much all. So off camera, I've just gone ahead and marked out where I'm going to put the A and B just to give me a rough guide. So I just marked that out with a little bit of eyeshadow. Because it sets so quickly, you need to work really fast and just apply it to my face. I'm just gonna add a little bit more so that you can get that nice cut in there. Run my spatula through the middle to create that line. I'll blend out the edges. So after that is all carved out and blended onto the skin, as you can see, it's kind of a little bit textured, like around the edges. Channeling the texture for this look, because he is so gross. So pretty much after I've done all that, the next thing that I'm going to do is paint my whole face white. So I'm just gonna take a white cream color beauty sponge. I'm just gonna pick up some of the product, get a little bit of the cream paint and start dabbing that all over my face. I'm just gonna apply it and then I'm gonna go back in with the car sponge to give it a little bit of texture. So after you've painted your whole base white and you're feeling a little bit like a creepy little clown, the next thing to do is fill in the scars or the cuts. So what I'm going to be using is just a bruise wheel. I'm going to use cream paints for this. I prefer to use alcohol palette, but because we're using cream, I feel like if I use alcohol, it's just going to take the paint straight off. So I'm going to go in with some cream. So it's almost like a deep purpley red. So I'm going to mix that and I'm going to chuck that right in the center of the cuts for the deepest part. And using a darker color like this is going to give it dimension so that when you use the other colors and the other shades of red, it's going to make that part look the deepest and then the rest of it look like the fleshy skin part. So the next thing I'm doing is just taking a bit of a lighter red and I'm just running that over the edges. So I'm sort of almost done with the cream paints. I added in the darkest red and I mixed in a little bit of black just to add a bit of dimension into it. Now I'm just going to add in the tiniest little bit of yellow just throughout it. And what the yellow is going to do, it's almost going to give it like a skin-like texture. Next thing that I'm going to do is take some of jelly blood. So as you can see on the inside there, it's got a bit of texture, so it looks almost like dried up, gross blood. I'm just going to take the same brush that I had before. I'm just going to start by putting it on the inner corner there, and I'm going to put it all through the middle of the cut. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do the black around my eyes. I'm going to use a cream shadow. You can use a black normal shadow if you want. What I'm going to do is use the black cream shadow to pop it all on, blend it out a little bit, and then I'm going to set it with a black shadow over the top. So I'm just going to get a flat brush and apply that all over my eyelid, under the eyes as well. I'm just going to take a fluffy blending brush that you just use for normal eyeshadow. I'm going to blend that out. And make sure that when you're blending it, bring it right into the corner of your eye, almost at the bridge of your nose, because what that's going to do is it's going to make your eyes appear more deeper set and creepy. We always like creepy. So what I've done is I just blended out the black around my eyes. I went in with a black shadow and just set it off so it doesn't crease and move, and then I just blended it out a bit more. I've just added in some expression lines and I'm going to draw in a little nose. So what I'm going to do for that is just take some more of the red that I used before, go right over my nose. After you've got the red on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of runny blood all over my nose. And I feel like doing this, it almost looks like he's just eaten someone. He's got their blood all over their nose. As you go along as well, I just find that it all comes together. It's all about having fun while you're doing it. The next thing that I went ahead and did was chuck in some blue eye contacts just to give it a little bit of a pop. Pennywise's eyes are like a greeny yellow, but I only have light blue contacts, so this is what we're going to work with. Here it is. This is the final look. If you like this video and you want to see some more creepy and weird videos from me, then hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you for watching.